He definitely looked like the caliber fighter that could, carry the UFC heavyweight title at some point in his career. Volkov, unfortunately, not so much last night.
What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, we had a full 5-round heavyweight main event last night.
right.
You don't get that very often, where a great heavyweight fight goes all 5 rounds. We had what we were really touting as the next generation of the heavyweight division in Alexander Volkov and Ciryl Gane. And Ciryl Gane, although he's very young in his MMA career, he's had a meteoric rise, and he looked very good last night.
Yeah, he looked super good. And going into this fight, we said that likely both of these guys will get a UFC belt at some point. He definitely looked like the caliber fighter that could, carry the UFC heavyweight title at some point in his career. Volkov, unfortunately, not so much last night, which is, one of his worst performances as of late, in my opinion. I really wish he would have just let some more shots go and gone. Did what he had to do. I thought the composure is really unmatched for anybody that's still under 10 fights as a professional. And, he has a relatively long, but not really long, Muay Thai kickboxing background. But they said he was like 12-0. So that's really not a ton of fights in the grand scheme of things. So, I think Gane he's one of those guys that's just undeniable and a main eventer early on, and I think he's going to keep rising.
Yeah, we talk about the meteoric rise of Khamzat Chimaev being under 10 fights and being in title contention, but realistically, Ciryl Gane might get there sooner than Khamzat. It just really kind of depends. A couple of takeaways from the fight last night with regards to Alexander Volkov. As you touched on, he didn't have enough offensive output. When you have a really crisp, accurate and fast striker like Ciryl Gane, you have to disrupt them with something. And he did. I think Volkov won the first round, and he was disruptive with the kicks and he threw some jabs. But once Ciryl started to really land and find a home for that jab, Volkov kind of kept his hands home, and it just made him a 7-foot tall punching bag for the Frenchman. So I'm wondering if the 20 pounds in muscle that Volkov put on was what zapped his energy and he wasn't really able to give that kind of output, or if the speed, and I think it's something really interesting that I heard Andre Ward say last night with regards to some of the boxing matches that took place, but it carries over to this situation, and that's power can invoke fear in your opponent, but so can super lightning fast speed. Like if all of a sudden you're cracking your opponent and they're not even seeing the shots coming, even if they're not the most powerful shots in the world, it can kind of make your opponent take pause, scare them a bit. And Gane is not known for his KOs, but he's known for that accuracy and that quickness.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that's a great statement by Ward. Volkov, in my opinion, was most dangerous when he had crazy volume, crazy output, and was moving fast and just all over you for however many 3 or 5 rounds that he was going. And I think the weight did slow him down a bit. It definitely gassed him out. He had to go for a knockout, in my opinion, come round 4 and round 5, because he was just down. I can see how some people would give him the first round. I was probably leaning towards it because, he had more significant strikes, and, I don't like to I don't like for octagon control to mean more than damage or more than significant strikes, but sometimes it does, and Ciryl Gane does a really good job of controlling the octagon and controlling the pace of the fight and kind of dictating where it goes and the speed at which the fight goes. But Volkov, the main story about last night's fight was the speed difference, and I think going into this fight, even before he put the 25 pounds on, he was still the slower fighter than Gane, but adding that 20 pounds just made him that much slower and that much, further behind somebody like Gane, because Gane, he's different as a heavyweight. You look at him, and he's obviously a big guy. But he carries muscle. He doesn't have a ton of fat on him. He's not really built like a lot of the stereotypical heavyweights. Yeah, he's pretty lean, and he's pretty fast, and he's pretty light on his feet. He moves really well for a heavyweight. So I feel like that was a bad call. And in hindsight, it makes sense. But I wonder what's going to happen with John Jones when he does the same thing that Volkov's trying, because in my opinion, the Volkov that we saw in the last fight was far more dangerous than the Volkov we saw last night.
20 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
And that would fall in line with the great heavyweight champions. You know, when you think of who are the best heavyweights of all time, to me, it's a debate between two people, and that's Stipe Miocic and Cain Velasquez.
Yeah.
Both of those guys live at that 240 mark, and they weigh in around 240, 245. We saw Stipe dip a little bit under that in his fight against Francis, and, you know, now we have kind of the next generation with Francis being, you know, maxing out that limit of heavyweight, Derek Lewis maxing out that limit of heavyweight. But if history is any indicator, a gentleman who's about 240 pounds and has a great cardio gas tank with some good wrestling makes for the best heavyweights. And so Gane last night, and Gane's right in that range. He's that, you know, that right size. His grappling is good. He looked good last night, mixing up some takedown attempts. You know, he's won some fights via heel hook in the UFC. So he's very interesting, and I think he's got all the skills to really rise to the top. He's already number 3, so it's kind of like we're now looking down the barrel of a potential title shot, which brings me to the question, while Gane is very quick, while Gane is very accurate, and he's very skilled and athletic, he has not shown that he's got great finishing power. And then the question becomes, if you can't finish him, you got to be in there 25 minutes with Derek or Francis, and that's a dangerous order.
Yeah, he's proven that he is a main event fighter, which means he's going to be out there for 25 minutes every time he fights from here on out until he, you know, starts to come down the mountain, you know. And obviously Derek and Francis are main event fighters, 5-round fighters. So while he really did fight a perfect fight last night, he only got caught a few times. Nothing really wobbled him that bad. When you start to deal with somebody with the real one-punch knockout power like Derek Lewis or Francis Ngannou, you really it's hard to play perfect in this game. And, you know, he looked pretty good, but there's a couple times when he steps, when he wants to do like a sort of like a Muay Thai march or something like that, and he just kind of gets caught by something. And I think if he does that against these guys and he zigs when he should have zagged against Derek Lewis, he's going to go to sleep. So I do see Derek and Francis both being the favorite when they do line up to fight Ciryl Gane, which is inevitable. They're going to fight him. But if he's able to, you know, do what he does and slow them down, as the fight moves forward, he's probably going to have to be, you know, less careful, I guess. Yeah. But even still, you know, you see what Derek Lewis can do to somebody like Volkov, shut the lights out with 30 seconds left in the match. And, you know, Francis Ngannou, although most of his fights don't go that long, he can shut the lights out at the very end of the fight as well. So I don't know if Ciryl Gane has the fighting style to beat those two guys right now. I think, you know, he'd be a fun fight for John Jones. He'd be a fun fight with Stipe Miocic. I think those fights you'd see go a little bit longer, and it'd be a little bit more of a strikers match. You know? But the Derek Lewis, H-Town swinging and banging, and the Francis Ngannou, you know, crazy hooks and uppercuts and hard straight punches they're hard to deal with for 25 straight minutes.
Yeah, and you know he and Francis have a long history and relationship, both coming out of France, starting their fight careers in France. And he said you never would fight Francis unless Francis was the champion. And then obviously he's holding on to something that Ciryl wants in his career, which is the belt. Then you kind of have to put friendship and relationship aside and go for it. I think we're going to see him fighting for a belt sooner rather than later. I do think we'll probably have to see him in one more before he gets that title shot, just because John Jones is looming and we don't know what's going to happen there. Stipe is looming and we don't know what's going to happen with him. I personally love Ciryl Gane versus Stipe Miocic. If he can beat Stipe, you have to give him a title shot. He's undeniable at that point. You beat the best heavyweight ever, in my opinion. But as you said, Derek and Francis can shut the lights out. Derek shut him out on Alexander Volkov with 30 seconds left, or it was even less than that, like 13 seconds left or something like that. So point being, he would have had 10 plus minutes to spare in a main event sort of situation. So if he can find you and put you out, even if you're winning the fight within 15 minutes, we have to believe that he can do it within 25. And Derek's even better than Francis in that regard. Derek's really good about conserving his energy and only bursting when he feels that he's got a really good clean shot. Not to say that Francis couldn't shut the lights out at the end either, but I do think we're going to see Ciryl Gane in there fighting for a belt probably in 2022. I think he's as good as anybody. He's as crisp as anybody. And like somebody who should be challenging for a belt, he was critical of himself. It's not just us saying he doesn't have the knockout power. He said to the post-fight crew, Bilal Muhammad and Anthony Lionheart and those guys, if there's one thing I want to work on, I'm going to go home and try to work on my power. I want some knockouts. I know that to really enter that upper echelon of elite, I need to have some KO finishes and TKO finishes.
Yeah, and I think he has the power. He just doesn't seem to press down on the gas when he does. You know, he's hitting with volume. He's hitting with crazy accuracy. And when he has somebody hurt, when you weigh that much, you hit them with a jab and hurt them. You go hit them a couple more times, and they're going to start to wilt. They're going to start to fall over, and then you got to turn it up a little bit. I feel like he's fine with just picking you apart, you know, for an entire 25-minute fight. But when you get in there with Francis Ngannou, if you hurt him a little bit, you got to go finish the show, because you know you might not get that opportunity again, and you can't just rely on your chin and your head movement to get you out of that one. Very dangerous. It would be insane for him to fight Stipe Miocic in his 10th professional MMA fight. If he did win that would be pretty remarkable. Like you said, Khamzat Chimaev's come on pretty strong, and I know he's not a top 3 rank like Ciryl Gane. Maybe he would be closer to that if all of his fights were in one weight division. But we have to look at Ciryl Gane as one of the most successful new prospects, the quickest rising stars that the sport's ever seen. And just the composure that he has going in there in the fight and then after the fight, it's really something to admire. So I'm excited to see what he does next. I hope Volkov gets a good fight next. You know, it kind of stinks for him that he's going to have to go back and probably fight somebody that he's already fought before, probably already beat before. But either way, they gave us a great main event. I'm really happy with it, and I can't wait to see what everyone from last night gets to do next.
For sure. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know in the comments, do you guys think Ciryl Gane is ready for a title shot, or does he need to demonstrate a little bit more of that power? We always love chatting with you guys there, and if you've enjoyed this video, a like, comment, and subscribe is much appreciated. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a great day.
Peace.